Hey, Michael, what's going on over there?
Hey, Will, 1 or 2 bottles for the podcast today.
Can you make that 3?
Why do we need 3?
Because we are featuring a new winery.
Wow, that's outstanding. Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Know Texas Vino. This is Michael.
And this is Will.
Folks, today's podcast is sponsored by Texas Wine Club and
Texas Wine Lover app. So grab a glass and join us for a new and intriguing episode.
Man, is it gorgeous out here or what, Will?
Man, you know what? This is where I grew up. This is my home right here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not really my home, but it's really nice out here.
This is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I cannot show this to my wife or we will be moving in with this great couple.
I think they'll probably evict you out now before you move in.
Hey, yeah, we're excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun today, isn't it, Will?
Yes, sir, it is.
So go ahead.
Hey, this is Will.
This is Michael.
And welcome back to We Know Texas Vino.
Yeah, so we're super excited to be here for this edition and just back for more. Can you believe, Will, this is episode 17? The vision we had 4 months ago now has come to fruition. We're really reaching out to the world, which is cool. And we're just excited to be here for episode 17. I can't believe it's already 17.
Yeah. When I presented this to you, back in, what was it, October of last year?
About October,
November. And we were kind of tossing it back and forth and, didn't think it was going to get a lot of traction. And here we are at number 17.
You know what's crazy is you brought it up and I kind of just missed it. Like, what that's a great idea. That's a lot of fun. And then it started coming to fruition. Yeah. And now here we are on this beautiful area. And we'll talk about it here in a minute. And then with a great couple. And now we're doing 17. But we're going to blink and be at episode 20.
Well, don't blink too hard because I still got to do a lot of editing.
Well, we're thrilled to be here in Whiteboro. Is that correct? Whitesboro. Thank you, Lisa. Whitesboro, Texas. And if I did my correct math here, we're in Grayson County. Is that also correct?
No, we're actually in Cook County.
We are still in Cook County. Okay, so for folks, our listeners, they have a general geographical idea where we are, right? That's pretty cool. So we're hanging out here at the vineyards at Rancho Sereno.
Yes,
that's awesome. We'll talk about that name here in a minute. And we're here with Mike and Lisa. Welcome, you guys. Good to have you here.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're drinking something right now. I just had a sip of it, and it warmed my belly. Mike, what are we drinking here?
Lisa, what are we drinking?
What are we drinking?
Not Mike.
We are drinking Michael Barton's Politics and Religion.
Oh, when she brought that up, Will, I got excited because that sounds spicy and fun.
When she brought it up and she was asking us what we wanted to drink, and she said that, and I just turned and looked at you, and we both said yes.
Yeah, we both said yes. Yeah, we had a couple of options, and we appreciate that very, very much. Well, we're excited. So, Will, real quick, where can our listeners reach us and find us? And tell us a little about what's going on with our social media. Tell us about that.
So, right now, you can find us all on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino. You can find us on any major podcasting platform like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora. And coming soon is WeKnowTexasVino.wine and .com.
Right. That's going to be so exciting when this is done. And people are going to access that and have lots of information. Yes. We're giving away bottles of wine and we're going to be doing a lot of things, right? Don't give me that look, Will. That's what we talked about that 3 months ago. So.
Bottles of wine. Was I asleep during that?
You were probably asleep on that.
But I will say that we have now hit 106.
106.
Yes, 106 on Apple's.
Down from 109 or 107.
107.
No, 106. So for our couple here, we're the 106th most popular episode or podcast for entertainment and food in North America right now, which is pretty cool.
That's excellent.
Isn't that fun? So our goal is hit 99, then down to numero uno, right?
Yeah, we started out like 300.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So things are going great. We're super excited about it. So, let's get after this, Will. What do you think? And we just want to real quick, let's recognize our two sponsors. Why don't you do that real quick, Will? And let's just touch that real quick and have some fun with those guys.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Texas Wine Club.
Great.
That's a great little subscription there. And right now, if you go to txwine.com, and you go to check out, you can get 50% off right now your first month of subscription.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I went the other day and actually I'm going to be submitting my first order with those guys, which is really cool. Absolutely. Those guys were fantastic.
Yeah, they are fantastic. Yeah. So I'm going to come to your house then.
Okay. You come to my house when it's all delivered. Yes. And then our second sponsor?
It is Texas Wine Lover app.
Yes.
And Amy and Jeff have created such an amazing little application to find Texas wines in Texas.
Yes.
Of course, it's going to be in Texas.
Texas wines in Texas.
Yes. But I mean, the app itself is so easy to navigate through. You can select what regions you want to be in. You can go on there and filter out from what days of the week they're open to if they're pet friendly, if they're kid friendly, if they have live music, if they have a patio. Yeah. I mean, it's just so easy able to navigate through them.
I was on it today, actually. I'm just so proud of those guys. And I know we brought up Amy earlier when we were talking to Lisa, and everyone loves Amy. And we're really proud of that application. And that's not a little app. I think it's a big app.
It is
it's
big
really encompassing a lot of information. But I say we get after this. We're here in this beautiful location. And thanks again for the invite, Mike. What a pleasure meeting you. This is a true gentleman and nothing but cordial and kind. And I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Yes, sir. Yep, Mike and Michael. How about that? Well,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had to stop and think, wait a minute. What?
That's right. And his amazing wife, Lisa, who we called the queen walking in. Is that right, Lisa? Are you the queen of this beautiful?
I don't know about that. I think the dogs are the queen.
I'm embarrassing Lisa.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys, we're here for you guys today. We're going to showcase what you have going on here. This is a brand new winery and a brand new vineyard. We just had the field trip through some of that.
Yes.
It is awesome. It actually gave me kind of goosebumps, inspiration. It was pretty cool to watch that.
It is.
Yeah. So we're fine. And you're doing some of your own planting, aren't you?
I am.
Real quick, Will, because we want to showcase a couple. But did you get some of your vines from this location?
I did. Lisa was so great to let me get some vines from her to learn.
Yeah.
And so I just got through planting some Grenache, Movedro, and Tannat.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
So Lisa is very amazing.
Indeed. Well, Lisa, thank you. And Mike, thank you. So let's go ahead and get after it. You guys ready to have some fun?
You bet.
We're super happy to be here. So we're going to start with Lisa, the queen. Is that okay, Mike? We
Absolutely.
I met Lisa pulling into the parking lot. She was just having fun and just had her sunglasses on. And of course, I'm inspired by this wilderness up here. I'm going to call it wilderness. But Lisa, how did you guys find this place? How did you, Mike, stumble into this beautiful location?
Well, we decided that we needed a place to have horses in 2003 because I had horses and broodmares up here with... Whitesboro is a mecca for the reining horse industry.
Okay.
Everybody who's been on Yellowstone, everybody who is on the United States Equestrian Team, all live within 30 miles of Whitesboro.
Is that because I read? Is that because of the soil?
Yes.
Tell me about that a little bit.
The soil is sandy loam, and so when you're raising babies, the sand is really good to have when you're running and stopping and doing everything. You have natural sand, so you don't have to spend a fortune getting an arena and having perfect dirt brought in because it's just already here.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Someone, just a friend of mine the other day was telling me about the awesome ranches up here in the horse industry, and he had mentioned that to me because of the soil. And so I started researching it, and then here we are with this couple, and that's exactly why you picked this land. Is that correct?
That's exactly why we picked the land.
So tell me about this huge vision of raising horses and breeding horses, correct?
Well, I've been in the horse industry for a long, long time. I showed when I was a kid, quit when my dad said he wasn't going to finance it anymore.
Amazing that Mike does that.
Found a new sucker.
So anyway, when I started riding again, and I started with jumping horses, and when I was a kid, I rode Tennessee Walkers, and when you're in your 40s, if you jump, it's not when you're going to fall. You just fall. It's something that happens.
Okay.
And so I went, wait a minute. I now have 2 kids, and I'm not interested in having a broken clavicle and whatever else. So we started looking for another breed that would, another discipline that wasn't boring, and reining was it. So I started showing reining horses.
Wow.
Then horses are kind of like potato chips. You can't have just one.
Never heard
Mike
that said before.
Mike said one time that he thought I could breed geldings because he'd look around and go, where'd that one come from?
Right.
So anyway, we ended up breeding horses. I was still showing. Time went on, and something happened. Time passed. I broke my hip, and decided that it was kind of hard to compete against people who were asking each other where they were buying their dress for the prom when I'm, like 60 years older.
60 years older. Well,
I mean, you can tell them you're buying them at, the high-end stuff, while they're buying it at the thrift store.
Well, there's always a tipping point in everyone's life where just things change a little bit. And so do you think it was that broken hip that kind of made you start thinking about different avenues?
I just couldn't show like I used to.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, when we bought this place in 2003, we were in a group that was kind of tourism in the Red River Valley. Those cottages down there we used as guest houses, as like VRBO,
sure,
because there are international people who come here to buy horses. There are tons of Italians, Brazilians. Everybody comes up here to buy horses.
Wow.
And so they were full all the time.
So they lived over there when they were here in town to buy horses.
Is that part of the appetite? They'd come here to buy horses and you guys would house them, or was that an additional cost for them, or how that work?
It was an additional cost, but it was also kind of a hook because every time they drove out the driveway, they'd have to look at my horses. And then they'd drive back in and they'd have to look at my horses again.
Well, when I drove in tonight with you guys, I followed you guys into your beautiful, beautiful area here. I saw those homes over there and I thought maybe those were neighbors, or I didn't know it, but those are actually, that's part of your ownership here.
Right.
That's beautiful. Well done. Yeah.
I mean, it does overlook a really nice little stock tank you got out there.
It's fantastic. I took pictures for my wife. I'm going to convince her to be a country girl again. Well, that's awesome. So then, Mike, so you're part of the story. I know you're not, just kicking back. And I talked to you earlier. You come from real estate. You come from, I think, development, I believe, and then an attorney as well. And I think you did some banking. But when was that tipping point for you where you're like, I think this sounds like fun? Or have you said it sounds like fun?
No.
He hadn't gotten there
you guys
yet.
remember the terrible downturn of 2008. How can anybody forget? And so we had a house in Dallas and a house out here. And frankly, one of them had to go. So we put them both on the market. And the one that went first, we were going to sell. And the one that didn't go first, we were going to live in.
Okay.
Well, guess what? The one in Dallas went first.
And you're here.
So we moved up here. After having owned it for about 7 years, we actually moved up here. Well, once you move to the country, you kind of lose your city ways over time. Yes. And so I really kind of got interested in agriculture and in doing things not the old-fashioned way. There's a excellent research institute in Ardmore, just north of here, called the Noble Research Institute, that teaches regenerative agriculture. And that's using animals to fertilize the ground. It's using cover crops to keep live roots in the ground through the winter so that you don't have to buy chemical fertilizer.
Right,
you don't have to buy all these. Well, I got interested in that. And that's why we have these 6 Wagyu mother cows over here now.
Okay.
They're there to make some money, but they're also there to improve the land. Oh. And so for me, it was the episode that caused me to get out here was a financial episode, but fortunately we are fine financially today. But I'm changed now. I'm not a city boy anymore. I'm a country boy.
If I can say, you kind of sound like a country boy.
Thank you very much.
Well, he does have any boots on, so I don't think he's fully country yet.
Well, to me, he's very country. I dig that a lot. But your wife, we joked earlier before the podcast. Who does she sound like? Can you just tell us who she sounds like sometimes?
Somebody on
Yellowstone, right?
Yellowstone.
Tater.
Is it Teeter? Is that what it is?
Teeter.
Yeah,
Tater,
so
like Tater.
I will never forget that, by the way, Lisa. That is scary. That's awesome. Well, that's cool. And so you guys have been up here for a few years now, and you're doing great things. Who was in charge of development? Was that your brainstorm?
We have our oldest son is an architect.
Perfect.
So every building on here was designed by him.
That's very
wow.
cool.
And the same contractor built every building on here, but Lisa and I were the master planners.
Yes.
I'll give us credit for the master planning.
Take credit.
And the very first thing you do whenever you build a place is locate where your pond is going to be, because where your pond is tells you where all the buildings will be. But that's all where we live. Now, where we work, that you guys stopped by on your way in at the barn, that is where the money making goes on, and that's where that sandy loam soil is not just good for horses.
Okay,
it's good for good for vines.
There we go.
And I'll let her talk about that.
So Lisa, your eyes got big when you heard that, didn't they? Because you knew that somehow. You knew that either you learned it.
And when we were in this little Red River tourism, which was probably about 15 years ago, one of the couples we met were the Davies and
the Whiteheads, at RK and at Blue Ostrich.
Blue Ostrich, yeah.
And they've been here for 20 years.
Okay.
And we came home from meeting them, and we'd been to their wineries and stuff, and we looked at that hay meadow right there and said, we could grow vines out here, and kind of never talked about it again.
What year was that? When was that?
That was probably
2012.
2012-ish,
Okay, so
wow.
something like that. And then things went on, and I started hanging out with them a little bit, met some more people, and
got in the wine club.
Got in the wine club.
Will knows about that.
And then I went to Grayson because everybody said, well, that's where you can learn. And I thought, well, I'll go to Grayson. Just, it was on the weekends. It wasn't a big deal. I'll just run over there and see if this is anything that's interesting. And the first weekend I was there, Andy Allen said to the class, I'm here to talk you out of building a vineyard. And we all kind of went,
what?
Really?
Yeah.
And he told us how hard it was, that you can't ever go on vacation, that it was just not something that normal people would do. So that was really interesting to me, because if normal people don't do it, then I'm all in.
Well, if normal people don't do it, I'm all in. I love that. That's a quote of the day so far.
I think I'm gonna make a coffee mug out of that.
I'm gonna make a T-shirt over it. Yeah. Well, but we have learned through these podcasts and through meeting a great group of people. In fact, I think the most extraordinary people I've met in Texas in 4 years since I've been here have been in the wine industry. I'm just going to say right now, and you two are no exception. You guys are amazing. Yep. But isn't there some sort of a grit and determination and perseverance in order to even conceive the idea of doing something like this?
I think you have to be a little crazy.
You have to be a little knock to the head, a few horse hooves to the head.
Horses and wine.
Yeah.
What a great way to make money.
Yahoo. So it's hard work.
It's real hard work.
Yeah. And, Mike, we were talking to you beforehand as well. And you were saying that you guys just planted some vines, I think last 2 weekends ago.
2 weekends ago.
How many did you plant? And tell us the manpower that you did not have.
Right.
Yes.
So this would be our third year to plant. We planted the first year we planted 750 vines. The second year, which was the first year was 2021. The second year, last year was 2022. We planted another 250, which is an easy planting. And then this year we went crazy and tried to plant 1,350 plants in one or 2 weekends. We got 1,250 of them actually planted, and we sold the rest of them to Will.
Will has some inside scoop going on here. So, in fact, if you want to comment about that here in a minute, I mean, that makes sense, right? And that's so cool that these folks had that opportunity for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. It's not easy. I mean, I just did a small little run in my backyard. And, I did a little bit different than they did. They actually had an auger and dug it in the ground stuff. I brought out my tiller, and I just tilled me up a big old 30-foot spot and just went for it.
But can I tell Mike and Lisa a little story? I call Will to prep for this podcast, okay? and he's like, I'm exhausted. And I'm thinking, he's been working all day. He's got an IT job, the whole thing. He goes, I planted. I've been planting all day. I go, that's actually kind of cool. Congratulations. And he sent me a picture of one row of planted. So I tell you that story because it was a hot day. I think it was Sunday. You were exhausted. But I can't imagine, Mike, what you were probably just dripping sweat and going for it.
Well, we fortunately the first weekend we had about 12 volunteers. Unfortunately, they were a little older in age, and they weren't very fast planters, so they only got 550 of those 1,250 plants planted.
But we were really grateful that they came.
Very grateful for them, and tried to feed them a good meal afterwards to show our appreciation. But then the next week, just myself and a young man about 20 years old planted all the rest of them.
So it planted an additional 500?
But another 750.
Because you did 500 the first weekend and 750 the second. That's amazing.
So, but if you're prepared, if you already have your infrastructure in, your trellises and everything, and you've dug your holes ahead of time, we used a tractor with an auger, then the actual planting part of it's not that hard because you drop the vine into the hole and you backfill with the dirt that came out of the hole from the auger.
Pretty quick, actually.
And you can probably carefully plant a vine if the dirt is good in about 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So, but that's 2 minutes and then another 2 minutes.
And in the hot sun, probably. And
then after about an hour, you're ready to stop and have a Coke.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we saw it out there. That we witnessed it.
Yeah.
Well, it looks fantastic.
Well,
I mean, I'm so excited for both of you.
And when I came up here to get those vines,
Yes.
they were out there digging it and stuff. And I felt bad, because we were going to be over at Duchesne doing the rosé tasting over there.
Right.
And, if I wasn't in nice clothes, I mean, I already told her I wanted to come out and help, but, working 2 jobs.
You tell everybody that, though, Will. I'll be here to help. You're going to be a busy man the next summer and then the summer afterwards.
Hey, I'm just going to say, Andrew and Christy has told me to come out in August and help them harvest.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Well, I don't think this couple's not going to be recruiting here today. Both of us might come out and help out, too, here in a couple months. So.
We'll have harvest in August also.
There you go. Well, I told you.
No, that's yours, Michael.
No, that was mine. All right. I love this couple. I'll come on and help out. Bring my wife and a couple kids, so that'll be good.
Hey, look at there.
Yeah, so that was an amazing plant. We saw it. It looks fantastic. I know you're proud of it. And Lisa, in particular, just talking to you, I could tell you have great pride in that. So you have done something that, like you said, most insane people probably partake in. Most sane people stay away from it, but you've decided to go for it. I mean, how proud are you of not only this beautiful property? I know Mike helped develop, your son helped with an architectural part of it, but are you just extremely proud of what you're accomplishing here?
Well, we love it out here. And one of the fun things about it is thinking about that we are, rather than just leaving money. Of course, the kids would rather us just leave money, I'm sure, than something but we're building something that could be a family business that could survive us. When we go, they'll probably just call the realtor. But I don't think so.
Well, it's called legacy, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I think we all hit an age. I've recently hit that age where that is really important to me as well. And so leaving that great legacy for your children, and you raise your children right, they appreciate it. But I just sensed you were really proud of it, and even wanting to showcase it and do the little tour. And I thought that was really awesome. And of all the wineries we've been to and all the ownership, I think it's maybe the first or second time maybe they've kind of done the walkabout where we kind of walked around and see the property. So thanks. That was really fun. Kind of prepped our mindset, right?
Yeah, because the future and vision they have for out there it's going to be amazing.
Well, we're going to talk about that, right? In fact, Mike, you walked us through the big barn. What was that barn at one time, and can you tell us what it's going to be here in the near future?
Absolutely, it is a 2,700 square foot barn that has 5 breeding stalls for breeding mares, and it's a perfect size building to be converted into both a tasting room and a winery that could probably produce about 2,000 cases a year, which 2,000 cases, you can make a living off 2,000 cases a year. And with a little expansion, it could even get to 5,000 cases a year. At 5,000 cases a year, you're making some money.
Yahoo.
So the tasting room part will be beautifully landscaped and be, knocked out looking. And we're right on a farm to market road, a paved farm to market road that ties in to US 82. And US 82 is the backbone of the Texoma AVA. And so just like Highway 29 in Napa Valley or US 290 in Fredericksburg, you got to have a backbone, and 82 is the backbone, and we're about 4 miles north of 82 on 678. So we hope that we will be convenient to both local people in Cook and Grayson County, as well as to all the folks that live down in the Metroplex who want to get out of the city for an afternoon and enjoy the country and have a glass of wine.
That is so awesome, because you've actually put legitimate, mature thought into that, and it makes sense. And you get me fired up because I've been to Napa Valley several times, and you're right. You can go on some of those roads right through there, and you're just catching wineries and vineyards all everywhere. And that's what their vision is here in the near future. And you're right, Will. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and you and I've been down to Fredericksburg, and we've done a 290. So we went into Johnson City and then went up and just hide. We didn't even go into Fredericksburg.
Right.
And there was just so many wineries. And what's crazy about it is there's signs for wineries that are not even, there's not even signs for wineries that are not even seen by the road. You have to literally go off the road and drive around a little bit to find them. For example, Rustic Spur
It was cool.
and Elisa Christopher.
Yep, that's right. That's awesome. And we're going back down there in June, and we're probably going to find and discover even more that are just out there, just waiting to happen, kind of like this one here. But so the vision is there. You guys are doing a great job. When do you see all this coming to fruition? You guys are, and we're going to talk about this, but you guys literally, if I can just say this, are probably the most unique podcast we've done, because you're right in the beginning stages of this. I mean, it's been a couple years, but trust me, in the wine world, that's beginning, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What is the vision, and when can we expect to see the tasting room, and what is your plan? You guys are thinkers, so what is the plan, Lisa?
Last year, we asked Michael Barton to buy grapes for us in the High Plains, and so he did, and they were grapes that he bought Mourvedre and Tannat for us. He made a wine for us that will be bottled and ready to go January of 2024.
Okay.
Wow.
So then it's going to have to lay down a little while, and in the meantime, we'll have to build a winery and cold storage and a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
because we're going to have 150 cases from him. And then we're going to look at some other things just to fill in while we're waiting for our grapes to produce.
Okay.
And then the theory is that we'll either buy some grapes to supplement what we're doing, send some grapes to Michael. There's lots of possibilities after that.
That's good. And you've thought about that pretty extensively, obviously. Yeah.
So we'll have our first harvest will be this year of the grapes that were planted in 2021, and it'll be a small harvest, and we'll probably just sell those grapes to some of our local colleagues around here. But eventually, that vineyard that you saw today will have about 4,000 vines, and it'll have 4 different varieties: Mourvedre, Tannat, Grenache, and Syrah. And we'll be
and maybe I'll pick a white
all reds, and then we'll find a white somewhere in there. We'll find a white. And so 3 or 4 years from now, we would hope to be making wine with mostly with our grapes. We'll always be buying some grapes from other producers, either here in the Texoma AVA or from the High Plains AVA. And at first, the barn would be converted into only a tasting room. And eventually, the other half of the barn would get converted into the winery. But all of that, I think, could take place within the next 5 years.
Okay, there you go. There's cast that vision for sure.
Yeah.
So one question I have for you. So how many acres do y'all have currently in vine right now? And how many tons of grapes does that make?
Okay, that's a good question. So we have, when we get finished with what you saw today, we'll have 5 acres of grapes.
Okay.
And each acre should produce around 3 tons of grapes.
Wow.
So that would be 15 tons of grapes.
Wow. And then how many bottles of wine is that?
Well, 1 ton of grapes, I think, makes 60 cases.
There you go. Start doing the math, Will.
Oh, I got a lot to go in my backyard.
60 times 15. Yeah, you do. Yeah, their backyard is going to produce how much? Based on his math real quick, Will, how much are you going to produce here in 3 years?
A quarter ton.
Well, that's outstanding. So are you guys prepared for that? Mike, are you prepared for that kind of workload?
Oh, absolutely.
Good for you.
Yeah. I mean,
We just have to hire
we're going to have to
a lot of people.
And that brings up a whole nother area of where are you going to get the labor for in this neighborhood?
Well, I think Michael over here has a 25-year-old. He's been trying to pawn off.
And a 22-year-old and a bunch of other 20-year-olds who I know pretty well.
He's trying to pawn people off.
So what we're trying to do about that is the Whitesboro High School is starting to get interested in their ag department, starting to teach kids about viticulture.
That's
and then
fantastic.
the wine growers around, the grape growers around here will give them apprenticeships,
internship or something
internships, and pay them. We'll pay them and teach them on the ground how to do all the things you have to do while the school is teaching them in the classroom why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. I've always thought that was one of the coolest things you do. It's like you integrate them. What's it called? It's called like you go to a Spanish immersion school or something like that. It's an immersion into the actual industry, which is cool.
Well, it's crazy because when I know when I was going to school, we didn't have this kind of stuff. We had the ag center, which, or the agricultural part in high school, that, farmed, raised animals, yada, yada, yada. But nowadays kids have an opportunity to learn technology in school, walk out of high school with associate's degree, sometimes bachelor's degree, certifications in IT. And now here they are adding this next little feature, you want to call
Plus,
it, into
mix
school.
in the farm community up here.
Yeah.
You're talking about a ranching, farming community where these kids are really kind of programmed anyways to be part of that magic. And so it's really harmony.
And if they don't get to be part of that magic, they'll leave town and go to the big city and never come back.
We don't want that.
So if you want to maintain the growth of a rural town,
Yes.
you've got to give them a job.
I love it. Yep.
Every kid that comes out here, I tell them there is a group, and this is a true story, that starts every year in Washington State, goes down the coast,
Okay.
goes all the way down to Chile, goes across to South Africa, and then comes all the way up to Germany. And they just do that. They're all about 25, 26 years old, and they get housing, and they just get hired.
I would love to learn about that.
Would that be the most fun?
Well, how much
if you
fun
were
would that be?
25,
single, just doing your thing. You finish college, you travel the world. Now you're going to go work on that tour. I'm actually I'm going to talk to my wife tonight about jumping on board that. That sounds pretty good. I always wanted to go to South Africa, so this is like the perfect excuse. Yes.
And you get paid.
I think they want 25-year-olds.
Okay. All right. Not
you might
55-year-olds.
die of heat stroke out there.
No, well, I might. I know how to cool myself off. Well, that's pretty cool. So, keeping this community alive here and helping out. And so you're not only, helping out yourselves. I mean, this is the legacy of your family business, but the whole community is going to be extraordinarily grateful as well because you're helping those kiddos understand the beauty of what you're doing here. And
it's not just us. It's all
right.
our neighbors that are also growers.
Yeah.
Everybody's in on this.
And Mike, you had mentioned earlier, and we see that across the board in Texas. Texas is a very unique state right now. Mm-hmm. It is cooperation across the board. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Absolutely up here.
What's the best example you can use of that?
Well, everybody around here, for instance, we have a no-till drill. That's how you put cover crop in your vineyard for the winter to keep live roots in your ground during the winter, which is good for the soil because it helps the microbes and all that and gives everything something to eat. Well, a friend of ours has a tractor with an auger. Well, we don't have a tractor with an auger, and he doesn't have a no-till drill. So we just trade.
Yeah, trade it up.
And we both have trailers, and that's what we do. We trailer them over to each other's house, and that kind of thing goes on all the time.
We have another
Go
friend
ahead.
that has a vineyard, and he's an engineer, and we bought one of those big air sprayers, and he helped us. We just all help each other. It's real. There's no cutthroat.
Yeah.
It's real collaborative.
Yeah, if I could take away a couple things, just meeting you two today, one of the things I remember, Lisa, is just when you were walking through the barn, you were kind of showing us where the cooling room is going to be, and you were talking about that cooperation. And you, again, another proud moment. I think you were really excited about that cooperation. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think it's a real unique industry.
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen that in Texas all the way down to Fredericksburg.
Yeah, it's... and I've said this once, and I've said it actually on multiple episodes, that the wine industry is the only industry out there that literally is not trying to cut your throat for the next dollar.
Right. So at least it appears that way, right?
Yeah.
And probably they weed them out, not to use a pun, but they probably weed out those who just aren't going to cooperate. And this whole great collective group of people who are doing great things are going to work together and make some things happen.
Or there could be a secret fight room for wine makers.
Who said that? I can't remember who said it, that the wineries want everyone to win. We want to produce, Texas, we want to produce outstanding, majestic, world-class wines. So why not root for everyone? Let's all win across the board.
Well, and one of the things about when you have your winery, you need to have 2 or 3 more because people like to come and take a tour of the wineries. They don't want to just go to one.
Right.
Over in St. Joe, they're great about they've got 3 or 4
of them over
there.
there. Yeah, we've been over there. It's fantastic.
So you want to be on a loop. We
okay.
call it a loop.
All
so
right.
you might have 3 or 4 or 5 wineries on a 4 roads, but roads all connect to each other. So a person can start at winery number 1 and work their way around to 2 or 3 of the 5 wineries that are on the loop.
That's cool. Yeah, I always like to hit at least 3 or 4 or 5 on a day, right? Just some days we'll be on the loop.
If I like it, I won't sit at just one.
Oh, if you like it, you're going to sit. Actually, Eric and I went to Fredericksburg one time, and a whole day we spent at one winery.
Yeah,
I was shocked at that.
It too,
It was so much fun. They had live music and food and the whole thing. It was great. But yeah, so that's exciting. So you guys obviously have something awesome going on here. What does your day look like when you wake up, Lisa? I mean, you both know what hard work looks like. You're a sip on coffee. Wish there were more 25-year-olds traveling this circuit up here in Texas.
Right. No, we just, whatever the task is, from about February through about October, there's something to do every day. You're either pruning or planting or shoot thinning or
harvesting,
sucker removal, harvesting, you're spraying, oh my God.
There's always something to do.
There's a calendar of the business follows the calendar, obviously. So you have a calendar of jobs that need to get done, and they don't have to be done on a specific day, but they ought to be done in a specific week.
I was going to say week. That's
within a specific week.
2
or
weeks.
2
like
weeks.
right now, I'm way behind because we did all the planning, but I'm going to have to.
Is that what tomorrow is in store
so
for you tomorrow?
she'll be pruning tomorrow to catch back up. But
good times.
But you have a plan. You have a work plan.
Yeah.
But it's not rigid. You can play with it a little bit.
Well, when you're you have ownership in that, you do maybe take a day off here and there, but you can't be taking 2 or 3 weeks off because there are responsibilities.
That's the deal. Is that you have to know that we had to make a choice as people who are retired. That it would be way fun for us to spend 2 or 3 months in Italy and Spain.
Yeah,
maybe we shouldn't have done this vineyard.
But I mean, it's more fun to. I want to say from my experience, working in a winery, it's more fun to talk to other people that normally under any other circumstances you would never get to talk to in life. Right. And get to know them, make good relationships with them. I mean, that's how me and Michael.
That's how we met, actually.
It's over a glass of wine or bottles, actually.
I think it was bottles.
I think it was bottles.
Yes. Yeah. We do like our wine, don't we? Yeah.
I do want to I want to step back one quick second here. You made a mention about loop from wineries. So we've got your winery here. Is there any other ones in this vicinity? Not past Duchesne, but in this vicinity right here.
Good question. Another great question. So you can go north on 678, which is our road in front of us. There's another big winery up the road about 7 miles. You can then turn toward the east and take another road about 2 miles. There's another winery there. And then you come back down south from there, and there's 2 more there. So there's already 5. Some
of them aren't open yet.
They're not all wineries. Some of them are just growers, but they all sell wine. So
interesting.
There's already a loop just right here. We call it the Whitesboro Loop. There's a loop over in the St. Joe Munster area, which you know about, and then there are the wineries that have been over in the Sherman and Denison area for years. Those guys have had a loop for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a common theme. I mean, you want to have that loop because, like Lisa said earlier, you don't want to be driving up from Dallas to one winery necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. It's too much of an effort. And people, I think, instinctively, especially city kids and city folks, are kind of lazy in that regard. They just don't want to go experience like this property. I could stay out here for 3 or 4 days. And in fact, Mike, I might. This is a tent right over there in my truck. And, but most people wouldn't want to do that. So the loop makes total sense. And so you guys have thought about that. You're part of that establishment and it's going to be spectacular. Will, can you imagine in the next 5 years what's going to be happening up here?
Let's just talk. Let's step back when you talk about that. Okay. Back, when the COVID shutdown happened, there was like 400, 450 wineries in Texas.
Yeah, let's just say 400 because I'm kind of hearing about 400.
Okay, and then after COVID shut down, we had close to 900, and so here we are talking about another 5 years.
Yeah,
let's do the math there.
Over 1,000.
Yeah.
What are your guys' take? Mike, you said something to me. You said you and your amazing wife, maybe your whole family, you guys were in Napa Valley 30 years ago?
30 or 40.
40 years ago.
Right.
And tell me about the vibe in Napa Valley 40 years ago.
It was really interesting.
Okay.
This is 40 years ago.
Okay.
Lisa and I have been married 40 years, and I think that it was a trip, an early married trip.
Okay.
And at that time, Napa Valley was very rural, and it was still cows and crops and stuff like. There were a few vineyards scattered here and there. And what's the name of that fancy Auberge du Soleil?
Auberge du Soleil.
Thank you. I can't pronounce anything French.
I'm Texan.
And they had just opened their restaurant. But today, that place is a very fancy resort. And when we were there, it was one restaurant.
Isn't that where French Laundry is?
That's probably French Laundry.
I think
sounds
it
about
is.
right.
Yeah. So, and there were just a few vineyards. So Highway 29 in Napa Valley connected the city of Napa to the city of St. Helena, and there just wasn't much there. Today, anyone on listen to this podcast that's been to Napa knows what it looks like today.
Correct.
And the same story with Fredericksburg.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember Fredericksburg growing up as a kid. Very few vineyards there. Very few. I mean, it was actually more orchards than vineyards.
That's right.
And growing up, going to pick peaches and stuff like that from all the orchards and stuff.
Yeah.
And now you can't find an orchard.
Well, Mike was saying earlier that he took his family down there for a family trip. I think there was one. Is that correct, Mike?
That's right. Back in about 20 years ago, when our kids were little, they just loved to hang out in Fredericksburg, and there was one winery down there, and that was Grape Creek.
Grape Creek. That's what I pointed at you. Well, you know Grape Creek.
Yeah.
And today, starting in Johnson City and going all the way to a little bit west of Fredericksburg, there must be how many? Will did you say 90?
I was
50.
290 to Kerrville is like 150.
Yeah, so we heard in a 50-mile radius when we were down there I think there were 90 in that 50 mile, and then just scattered outside of that would be up over 100.
Yep. I mean, and there's it's just like up here, people down there are just so helpful and friendly to each other. There's none of the cutthroat stuff. And you would think, going to different parts of Texas that the industry would change a little bit, but no, it's actually the same.
Yeah. So, Mike, finish those thoughts because I think it's so amazing.
Yeah.
What are you seeing here in North Texas right now?
Yeah, I see this Texoma AVA is where Fredericksburg was about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And maybe where Napa was 40 or 50 years ago.
That's exciting.
And what we have, everybody's got going for them. If you stop and think about it, about the demographics. Fredericksburg has Austin and San Antonio. So the combined population of those two cities is probably somewhere around 5 million people.
Oh, wow.
And Napa has San Francisco and the Bay Area,
Oakland,
and Oakland and all that. And who knows what the combined population of that is. And we have Dallas-Fort Worth with a combined population of about 8 million people.
Right.
And we're 1 hour from those people.
Wow.
And they like to come to the country, get out of the city, and sip on some wine. So to me, how can we miss is the question I would have.
Well,
how can you miss?
It's going to be gold.
Well, and then on top of all that, you got people that come from Oklahoma. Because I know the winery that I work at in Denison, people are coming as far as 50 miles away inside of Oklahoma just to come drink Texas wine.
Right.
Not Oklahoma wine, but Texas wine.
Well, when you were in Denison, don't you get a lot of Oklahomans down there as well?
I've made a lot of good friends that are up in Oklahoma. Like I said, they drive 50 miles just to come drink wine.
This is a good location.
Texas wine, not Oklahoma wine. In fact, I'm not going to bash Oklahoma much, but they said that Oklahoma wine is not wine at all.
That's right. I've heard that too. Well, I've met many real estate developers in my life, probably a couple dozen, and they always kind of have that same vision. They think about they cast the vision. I've used that word twice today, and I apologize, but you see the vision, and that's one of the reasons you're so excited about it, because you can actually see the potential in that.
I just wish I was 40 years old.
I wish I was 25. I'd be in South Africa. So, yeah. Well, Lisa, some final thoughts on that vision. I mean, it's so beautiful. You guys nailed it.
Well, I think it's really fun here too, because we have the wine community, but we also have the horse community, and that horse community is growing like crazy.
Okay.
And I'm in a supper club with some girls, and there's not one, except for me, that's from Texas. And they're all, one's from Australia. They're all from all over. And there are tons of Italians. We had, after a big futurity, not like, what was it, last fall? One of our horse trainers came over and brought some clients who had vineyards in Italy.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh, wow.
Which
And they spent
that's a
about
big
2
deal.
hours here going, just talking wine and talking grapes.
That's too much fun. That's a good life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a really good life.
I mean, you can't ask for anything better.
No, that's
Well, I mean, you
fantastic.
could, but
Yep.
you know.
Well, you know what came to my mind was I've heard that riding horses is even better when you're drinking wine. I'm not sure. Maybe Lisa can correct me on that.
No,
but-
you don't want to do that.
You know, that's kind of like driving a 3-wheeler, not a 4-wheeler, but a 3-wheeler drinking wine.
You know what's cool about meeting Lisa is my wife in the last year has said how much she wants to learn how to ride horses better. So now I've got a pro over here who can teach my
Wow.
wife, and that'll be a good relationship right
Yeah.
there. Awesome. Well, good. Well, so you guys are doing spectacular here. I'm just so impressed. Now, have you heard the geese flying over us and the dogs barking in the
What
background?
do you think I'm over here like
Yeah.
wide-eyed looking
Yeah.
around like, you know?
I think that's going to be so. If you can pick that up on the podcast, that'll be really fun to hear those behind
God, I
us.
could add the sound to it.
No, that sound, elephants and different things in the background.
So I know y'all are still really new, you know, still kind of like on the infancy of, you know, winery and vineyard and stuff. But do y'all have any social media platforms right now? Do y'all, I mean,
We're about to. We're not there yet.
Okay.
I mean, we had a website that was ranchosereno.com that had all our horses on it, and they had horses for sale and who our brood mares were and who we'd bred them to and all that esoteric horse stuff.
Right.
But now we just have it as a placeholder, and I have charged my son who lives in D.C. that marketing is going to be his thing, and he needs to get me a decent website up and running.
Well, I told Will, I said, when I learned about it, I went immediately to the website. I mean, that's just instinctively what I did. I'm like, they're really new. There's not much on the website
that's-
yet.
No, it's the old horse website
Yeah,
that we
okay.
took the horses off, and that's just a placeholder. Right
Okay,
now.
perfect. Yeah, well, that'll be ideal.
But we also have plenty of work to do in other
Yes.
social media. I mean, we have a ton, and we're blessed to know Amy and you guys, and you just have to get started on what it takes to market.
but
That's
you know,
true.
and that's what we do. This is what this whole podcast is about, to help y'all out. You know, because there's so many wineries here in Texas that, you know, it's hard to go and visit, even in a weekend, to visit even 3 or 4. You know, and so we want people to come and listen to the podcast, get to know y'all, and then when your wine is available, for them to come out to celebrate y'all's success by drinking y'all's wine and say, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah, and our mission statement, we actually are like mature about this. We actually have a mission statement, but really our ultimate goal, Mike, is to bring people to you. I mean, it really is cool. And if we, meet in a year, or hopefully we'll be back before then, let's just say we connect in 2 years over a glass of wine, and you're like, Michael, that podcast really, people mentioned that they heard that and they came out here intentionally to meet us and to see this amazing facility. To us, that is a job well done. That's really important to us.
Well, and I also just not completely derail from what he was saying, but I know y'all said something also about Andrew and Christy at Lonesome Vine, that y'all wanted to say something about them.
We were talking about that they were smart enough to do their legal.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that's going to be our educational portion,
Yeah.
Will. So twice you said, let's take a step back. Now you're taking a step forward.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll get back over to my silence.
Give them all the credit in the world for what they've gotten done in this the pretty short time.
Yeah.
And they're a model for us to follow, and so are the Davies up at RK, a great model for us to follow.
Yes.
It's a family business.
Yes, it is.
And
And
the
so-
Whiteheads, and I mean all these are
folks.
family business, which really appeals to me, to do a family
Good.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we think that's awesome as well. And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, again, the people we have met, I'm just so inspired by the folks we've met, but also the family legacies, the hard work, the sweat equity, all the commitment, the visions. Those are all things that are really important. I think these are life lessons that I work really hard to teach my own children, those life lessons. You guys are just doing it with a grape, which is pretty darn awesome, right? That's pretty spectacular. So, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So any last thoughts, you guys? Mike, I mean, you should be proud as well, my friend. You've done a good job here, and it's a pleasure meeting you. But any final thoughts you want to share with our listeners?
I want to say something good about my wife.
Do it. Let's do it.
She had the guts to get up and go over to Grayson College and get her degree, her associate degree in viticulture, and actually learn this stuff.
Wow.
And so now today I learned from her. I'm her vineyard assistant.
You're the apprentice.
And I'm the apprentice, and so all the credit goes to her.
Oh, right on. Those are kind words. And Lisa,
Thank you.
say something great about your husband. That's how this works. That's why I forced my wife to, baby, you look beautiful tonight. Now reciprocate, okay? Just say something. But
He's
anything you want to
paying
share.
for it.
Yeah, yeah. He's paying for it. That's why he said you after the father cut you off, you found another one. Yeah,
yes,
that's beautiful. Yes. Well, cool. Well, Lisa, any final thoughts you want to share? You're an amazing woman, and obviously you've done a lot of cool things in your life.
Thank you. We just are glad y'all came out to see us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Well, we're going to get back here in a minute, Will, and do some education. I'm excited about that. Any just real quick thoughts? We're going to share our final thoughts after the break. But,
I think I'm good.
Yeah, you feel good?
Yeah.
Isn't this peaceful?
It is.
Yeah, this is really nice.
I think I'm just going to take the truck and I'm just going to throw the bed back and I'm just going to crawl in it and sleep tonight.
I bet they have extra rooms here.
I want to sleep outside.
Oh, you want to sleep outside? Yeah. Well, this is probably the most relaxed I've been at any of our podcasts. Is because of you two, for sure, but also your beautiful home here and stuff. So we'll be back in a minute, Will. We're going to have a great time with some education. Sound good?
All
right, salute.
Howdy, Texas. This is Erica, Michael's wife, and a fellow wine enthusiast. I hope you are enjoying the We Know Texas Vino podcast as much as I am. Will and Michael are doing a fabulous job highlighting our local wineries and tapping into the knowledge of local growers. Fill up your glass as we dive into our educational segment for this episode. Salute.
Welcome back, everyone. Will, great job today. And you know what I'm going to point out real quick, Will?
What's that?
Is that Mike, my brother sitting next to me here, pointed out that you had 2 excellent questions today. That is 2 more than our first 16 podcasts.
Wow,
I'm joking. It was a great job.
That is true because usually I'm coloring everything in.
You're coloring, yeah.
Trying to stay in between the lines and all that. And,
well, I agree with him. Those were really good questions. So well done, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Super cool. So we're doing some education now, and I guess it's my week, huh?
Yes, it is.
So coming in here, we knew we had a really cool couple, and they have really got out of their comfort zone. And they started a vineyard and soon to be amazing winery and a tasting room. So Mike and Lisa, you guys are awesome. We had a fun time in that first segment. You guys have fun? Was it cool?
Absolutely. It's great.
Really
Absolutely.
Good. We can't wait for you guys to hear this podcast and share it with the world, right? Will, I think we're in how many countries now? Would you estimate?
So I know that most of our listeners are obviously in the States, but we actually have 1% of people listening in Germany. And then we have Belize and
Croatia, Japan. Was it Brazil or Argentina? One of those two. I forget which one. New Zealand. That's not Brazil or Argentina, but it is New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're getting folks around the world,
and we want to showcase you guys. So today we're going to talk education. We have 2 amazing professionals here today. They've got some cool things in their history. But Mike, I'm going to pick on you, buddy.
Okay.
We've got 2 things here, and you can pick any topic you want. But really, number 1 is, what, pray tell, went through your mind, you and your amazing wife, when you decided to start a winery, and how do you start? What is that threshold? What is that amazing tipping point where you're like, let's do this? And what did you have to do to start?
Well, I don't want to add underneath that all that. Did y'all have to bullet point everything out, all the little steps?
Well, he's a fundamental guy.
So it all depends on what you want to do.
Okay.
If you want to grow grapes, you don't have to get anybody's permission because you're just a farmer.
Okay.
And you're going to go farm, and what you're farming is you're farming grapes. And it's a hard job to farm grapes. And the way you make a living farming grapes is you sell your grapes to people who are going to make wine. Okay. The profit margin in grapes is okay, but it's a farming profit margin.
It's good for farming.
It's a good margin. The real margin is in making and selling wine,
which we just had a conversation about.
And so you must, if you want to make money, you don't have to make money. You can just be a happy farmer and grow grapes and sell them. But if you want to make some money, you need to be in the wine business. Well, I'm an absolute beginner in the wine business. The people down in Fredericksburg that listen to this podcast are probably already laughing.
Well, I doubt it.
I doubt it.
But to be in that business, you can either be a maker of wine, or you can be a seller of wine, or you can be both. And there's 2 different licenses you need. If you only want to be a seller of wine, even if it's wine you're having made for you or having bottled with your label on it, that takes one kind of license. And then if you want to make wine, you have to increase is the wrong word. You have to have an addition to that license to give yourself permission to make wine. And I've just about exhausted everything I know about it. Lisa and I today have only a wine seller's license, which means the wine that we own that has not had the taxes paid on it to the federal government has to be stored in a bonded location. Bonded is a fancy word meaning separated, and so that the government can track whether or not they're getting their excise tax or not.
Okay.
So you have to have a separate cold storage room that
So you can't like put it in your house.
That just made sense. You finally just the aha moment for me. So I understand that very well now. Okay.
So you can't store. You have to separate. It has to be segregated. So you do have to have. If you want to have a tasting room, you have to have a storage room that has got a segregated place for the wine you intend to sell. And you have to have your tasting room, and that takes one kind of license. If you want to get to be a wine maker, you have to expand that license because there's lots of, Lisa went to school on this, I didn't, but there's lots of additional things, health and safety things that have to happen to be a wine maker.
Wow, that is deep. I mean, and people, would you say, people who don't really understand that might be a little overwhelmed by that.
I would say most people would. I know one person that took it on himself and he worked his way through it and got it done. But most people hire an attorney to walk them through that. And that's what we did. We hired a very competent attorney named Kimberly Frost. I think she's down in Austin. And she took care of the things that we have to take care of to make sure that we're doing things in accordance with the law, both the federal law and the state law.
Right. And so Kimberly Frost, we want to give her a shout out because we talked about her during the break a little bit in pregame too. But she sounds like, does she do that professionally, or does she have some other areas that she is an expert in as well? Or is this kind of her tailored now profession?
I think that's her deal.
Okay. Very cool.
I think her law firm, that's what they do, because she's kind of when you call TWIGA, the Texas Wine and Grape Growers, and say, who do I get my license? How do I do my license?
Bam.
Yeah.
Kimberly Frost. So there you go,
Yeah.
Kimberly. Can't wait to meet you. That'll be cool. Well, awesome. So there are some legalities then. There's some certifications, and there's addition to certifications. That process, how long does that take generally to get that on order? And you hired the attorney, but how long did that take?
I think it took about 8 weeks altogether.
Okay, that's not
to
too
get
bad.
to get both the federal and the state licenses was
I think it was closer to 3 months.
maybe so, but it wasn't too long, and
It
that was
wasn't
just
forever.
that was just for the lower license that we have. I don't know how much additional time it would take for the wine making part of it.
I've had a philosophy in my life for years that a lot of time entrepreneurs, they kind of underestimate the amount of time they have to spend doing their craft, and they almost always overestimate how much money they're going to make in the first 5 or 10 years. Do you mind, with your permission, of course, how much would it cost to hire an attorney to take care of that?
I don't think she'd mind me telling her she has a fixed fee that she charges $5,500 for the license we have, and then you have to pay the license, the state, was it the state or the feds?
3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the state, I think. 3,000.
Okay. And so that's not horrible.
No, it's about $8,500 to $9,000 to get the license you need to sell wine.
Okay.
I was thinking more along the line of like 20, and I'm like,
I was thinking that because I know sometimes states, I think California, liquor licenses sometimes cost $50,000 to $60,000.
Well, California.
And I don't.
This is not a California podcast.
Lisa, we just lost all of our California listeners. Thank you very much.
I don't know what it costs to have that expansion of the license to make wine.
Okay, so just for our listeners, and there's a lot. And Will, you are in the beginning stage of this, so this is something that's really important to a gentleman like yourself, or a couple, or people who are looking to do it. So that's amazing. So number one, there are legalities. We have to fulfill those responsibilities and those requirements to do wine. Yeah. Is that one of the things you learned over at Grayson, is that you had to learn the fundamentals there?
That was right after they told me not to plant a vineyard. As they tell me.
It's like a double whammy. It's like, don't do it. And
don't do it. And the feds are going to come.
Yeah, for sure. Yahoo. Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
Cool. Well, you guys have that licensing. So what other things starting the winery have you guys run into some obstacles or things that we want to prep people? So I'm going to think of Will. Let's put Will on the canvas for a minute. Will's a young man. He has a vision of making this happen. Down the line, he's got some property he inherited from, I think, your folks, which is pretty cool. And so he wants to do this. In addition to the certifications, all the knowledge you have to learn, he's going to go to school to do that as well. And, of course, he knows good people. He has good resources. Is there anything else, Lisa, that you can think of that Will would need to know in order to start a vineyard and a wine tasting room?
I think you have to go through who is going to be your labor.
Okay.
Labor is a really, really difficult thing to do
Interesting.
here.
Okay. Here because of the remoteness?
No, just because farming the world in general has a labor problem.
Yep.
Right.
And farming in general has a labor problem.
Okay.
I mean, it used to be, the wife had 10 kids and 2 of them died, and
Right.
the rest of them farmed for you.
Yellowstone again.
Yeah.
Yellowstone.
Well, going back to Yellowstone, Peter probably was here.
Peter. I will never get that out of my mind.
So one of the big questions I have, and I've heard this from a lot of people, is doing this is not like something you need a trust or something like that. You need to get financing for it. You just can't walk out there and take a checkbook and say, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and buy some vines, and I'm going to buy some equipment, and we're going to call it a day. You
have to really have an accountant to work through with you.
Okay.
What is this? That you've got projections, and your projections, you just have to know that no matter how much money you think you're going to make out of this, you can just kind of lop off the first 50%.
Well, I think the valuable lesson here is, and we've learned this, Will, across the board. I mean, it takes a commitment, it takes capital, it takes just every bit of grit, and waking up in the morning and reminding yourself why you're doing it, right?
To put in a vineyard, costs about $8,000 to $10,000 an acre, just for the infrastructure. I mean, the trellises, the end posts, line posts, all that stuff and with steel, it's very expensive.
Yep,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's a good thing I'm a welder.
I think you're a welder. Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm a welder.
Bring him in. You do everything, Will. You do everything. Yeah. Well, it's just awesome. So you guys did it. You made the commitment, and obviously you're doing extremely well. So you guys, we're almost at the end of the podcast. Any last words, Lisa? Words of wisdom for our listeners and the people out there who have a dream someday to do what you're doing?
I just think that when your professor tells you can't do it, to me, that was the thing that said.
That's a sign that says, I'm going to do it.
I mean, that's like waving a red flag
for sure.
in front.
Especially a spicy young lady like yourself. Yeah, don't tell me I can't do something.
So I do have one question.
What's that?
So when you finally bought your first vines and you spent all that money doing it and you got them all on the ground, did you lay awake that night like, crap, what did I just do?
Yes. I mean, and that has not left.
Right.
I still wake up in the middle of the night and think, holy
mercy, what have we done?
You ever wake up and go down there and say, are they still there?
With a flashlight, make sure they're still there.
We did that with the horses too. So.
Right. I think it's any entrepreneur's kind of nightmare for the first few years, just making sure they made the right decision, right? Fear. There's fears and everything. It's
the best thing about the grapes versus the horse,
yes.
the vines versus the horses, if a vine dies, you pick it up and go put it in the trash can.
Put another one back in place.
Put another one back in there, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And that's what, a couple dollars there, where a horse, if someone was having a horse, that's a couple $1,000. Yeah, there's a big price difference.
Right.
Well, it depends on the horse too. So,
well, Mike, you get to wrap it up, my friend. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
So, what I would say, if you really want to get started in this business, is have a real long talk about how much you want to commit time and money to it. And a lot of people say, well, have a big dream, start big, go big. Mm-hmm. Well, this business is one you can kind of start modestly, see if you're good at it, and then grow with it. So I would say size your ambition. Okay. Figure out the size of your ambition, and then go for that and go in steps. And eventually you'll find your comfort level and the income level that you want to stay at.
Okay. Well, that's great advice, I think, for anyone. I think that's even beyond the wine industry. Just, setting good goals, but making them realistic and doable, right? Have a date set on those goals. That's what actually a goal is, right?
Yeah.
And then you can always expand. You can always stretch.
Yep.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, you guys are amazing.
Yeah,
Mike and
you.
Lisa, you were tremendous. I want to adopt you and take you home.
You know what?
Mike invited us back up
at your
to
house.
the
You
house.
want to adopt everybody.
I do. It's scary. But these two, I would adopt in 4 seconds. So if you want to get adopted, come talk to me later. I have an attorney. I'll have him send you letters. All right. Well, awesome. Well, Will, real quick review. How do listeners find us, and how are they going to keep in touch with us and continue to support us and give us 5-star ratings?
They can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino,
Yes, sir.
and then at all the major podcasting platforms.
Yeah.
That's a lot of P's there. Saying podcasting platforms.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
So, but if you get out there and you listen to us on Apple, give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. You know, we love our reviews. We love our listeners.
Yes, sir.
And we do this, and we can't do this without y'all
That's for
because
sure.
we enjoy doing this to bring y'all all the best wineries in Texas.
That's
also.
awesome. Well, Will, takeaways, buddy. I mean, you get to go first. I feel obligated to let you always go first. That way I can try to come up with something better.
I'll first want to thank Mike and Lisa
Yes.
for first off selling me my first vines.
That's very cool.
So just to learn, you know, I'm a hands-on guy, like we was talking about in between the episodes here. I'm a hands-on guy, and to listen to y'all and to hear what y'all are going through, you know, I know it's going to sound funny, but I'm kind of excited about doing this. I'm like really excited. I mean, I'm no stranger to hard work, and so I commend y'all for what y'all are doing. I've watched y'all out here planning when I picked up my stuff, and I'm really excited for the future and excited for y'all.
Yeah. And my takeaway is pretty simple. Really, I mean, this is such a great example. You better have a vision, and you better cast that vision. You better have it in concrete and stick to it. That's called grit and perseverance. But if you don't have a real true vision, I don't think something like this is going to materialize. It's really a tough gig. But for this couple, what a great example of both intelligent, both cast a vision, and both have a master plan to make it happen. So how excited, Will, are we to come back here over the years and watch the growth and watch their success, and then watch their kids take over and do those great things. Where it's like a family venture. It's gonna be so cool.
Well, I'm hoping that Lisa and Mike will invite us out here for their grand opening for their tasting room.
Well, we will be here
will
for sure.
definitely do
We'll do a
that.
live podcast
we'll do
on that one.
a live episode out here.
Yes, well, cool. Well, I brought up, I know last week Jen helped us out, and thank you, Jen, if you're listening to the podcast. We're very grateful for you, and thanks for all you do. I know tonight you had some other responsibilities, and you brought a joke last week, but we're getting back to the basics, the fundamentals here. I told Mike I'm an old ball player, so I'm going to get back to the fundamentals with baseball. We're getting back here. So I have a quote, but I actually brought 2 quotes this week. Are you ready for them?
All right.
As Benjamin Franklin said, in wine, there is wisdom. In beer, there is freedom. And in water, there is bacteria. And the last quote is even better. Drinking good wine, and this is Mike and Lisa. In drinking good wine with good food and good company, it is one of life's most civilized pleasures.
That's right.
Yahoo. This is We Know Texas Vino. This is Michael.
And this is Will.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for all you do.
Salute.
Cheers.